here's your host, Alex Garrett.
Well, I was going to do some sports over the weekend, but life got, hectic. And then, of course, yesterday, no sports because of October 7th. So today, to break out the sports talk again with my colleague and weekly co-host, Lou Terminello, it's Terminello's Take. Louie, how are you today?
Alex, good to be with you. I'm well, and it's a very, very interesting Tuesday, for sure.
Let's start with the fact that 15 years ago it was announced I was getting my own radio show, and here we are 15 years later. The Sports Hour became one leg up. How about that? And you're part of that reinvention, Louie.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me as always, and congratulations to you. You do a great job not only with the sports angle, but with all the other areas where you interview some terrific people in the sports world, in the political world, in the medical world. It's a well-rounded network you've put together, and congratulations.
Thank you. So let's talk about this, because obviously the big news of the day is out of Florham Park, where the Jets finally made the decision to let go of Robert Saleh, fire him. Apparently he was escorted out of the building too, not even getting a chance to talk to his team. What a turn of events after really a bad 2 weeks of football.
It was a bad 2 weeks of football. And, the funny thing is, as bad as the Denver game was, which was played in that rainstorm, and as inept as the Broncos offense was, and the Jets couldn't score a touchdown, which was incredible to me. If Greg Zuerlein kicks that 50-yard field goal, I know it's 50 yards in the rain. I understand it. I know we're making 50-yarders into chip shots now. But if he had made that field goal, who knows? We might not be talking about Saleh being fired today. And they were a play away. If on Sunday, I don't know, on Sunday on that last Jet drive before the interception by Gilmore. Garrett Wilson made a double move, and Aaron Rodgers overthrew him. Now, I don't know if they were not on the same page, if it was just a bad throw by Rodgers, but just think, if he hits them, the Jets go up in that game after being down 17-0, and Saleh probably isn't being escorted out of the building today. That being said, this is not a good day for the Jets. And I know a lot of the gas bag pundits on ESPN or Fox Sports 1 or on WFAN or ESPN 880 in New York and nationwide, when you fire somebody, it's failure. And the Jets, this is another mark of failure for the New York Jets. They say he's a player's coach. I don't know how much of a player's coach he was. And, I have Jet contacts. Nobody ever told me that the players walked all over him. But, your record is what your record is. And even though he never really had a quarterback until this year, and this year he only had that quarterback for 5 games, he's 20-36. The expectations were greater. And I don't know what Jeff Ulbrich is going to do. He's a terrific defensive coordinator. Now he's going to have to handle the defense and run the team. Obviously, he'll get some help from some of the other defensive position coaches. I don't know if they're going to add somebody, bring in a defensive consultant or not. But this is a big game coming up. They're 1 game behind Buffalo. They win on Monday night. For all of the past 2 weeks, they win on Monday night. They have the tiebreaker with the Bills. Technically, they're in first place after 6 weeks. I
think they made this move because there were some internal rumblings, I'm sure. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is the exact reason, but I want to mention to you what Woody Johnson said, because you mentioned about being a player's coach. Well, here's what Woody Johnson said. Jeff Ulbrich will serve as our interim head coach for the remainder of the season. He's a tough coach who has the respect of the coaches and players on this team. Is that a ding at Saleh?
It could be. I mean, obviously, here's the man who fired him today. And these NFL owners, they don't like to lose. And Woody's been losing for a long time. And he's done his best to turn the team around. Many people say he's a bad owner. Maybe he is. I don't know how much owners, unless you're Tepper in Carolina, have an effect on the team. But yeah, I would say so. What you just read me, they might need somebody tougher, because Quincy Williams said post game, and I was watching the post game on SNY, said somebody needs to be accountable here, and there's too many guys, both offensively and defensively. And Alex, the defense has done its job. I mean, they're second in the league in giving up yards per game. They're second in the league in points allowed per game. They gave up 10 points to the Broncos, and they gave up 16 points to the Vikes. And the Vikings had come in on a roll, and Sam Darnold had his worst game on Sunday. That being said, the fact that the Jets, the last 2 weeks, have dropped Aaron Rodgers back 108 times, and he threw 57 passes on Sunday, or 57 dropbacks. He threw 54 passes on Sunday after throwing 42 last week. He got hit 14 times last week. He got hit 11 times this week. That's 25. Dropping back that many times each game, I don't care if you're 25 years old. I don't care if you're 40 years old. I don't care if you have the best offensive line in the league, which the Jets don't. Pass blocking, they've been okay. But you cannot win that way. There's 71 offensive plays on Sunday. They ran only 14 times. Yes, they ran only 14 times probably because the offensive line can't even open a little bit of a crack to let talented guys like Breece Hall or Braylon Allen run through. They used a short game as a running game. Rodgers threw a lot of short passes. They got to get better. They got to get more balance on offense.
And, I look at this move as something you mentioned a little while ago, which is they're still in this. So I look at this move as, hey, you know what, we're going a different direction now because we still have a chance this season alone. What do you think?
I think you're right. I think Woody Johnson, Joe Douglas, I'm sure I consulted with Joe Douglas, general manager. They don't want to see the season get away. And as we watch these NFL games each week, I mean, look again what happened Sunday. We talk about it every week. San Francisco blows a 10-point lead to the Arizona Cardinals at home. I mean, really, who would have thought that? So anything can happen in these games, and I know it's a cliche. Anything can happen, but anything can happen, and you got to play it out. How many times do the Jets make the defense feel uncomfortable? They don't make the defense feel uncomfortable. And that's the thing that's been head-scratching to me. I thought we would see more of a diversified type offense. And I know, this is the offense that Nathaniel Hackett and Aaron Rodgers ran in Green Bay. But the NFL is different than it was 5 years ago offensively. So they're doing nothing to make the defense uncomfortable. The defense knows how to figure out the Jet offense so far. But as you said, there's still time. I didn't think that Saleh was going to get fired this week. I wasn't sure if he was going to get fired in season because Woody Johnson has never done that in his 24 years as owning the team.
Well, let's go cross the stadium for a second because there could have been another firing. I think you and I talked about this earlier off air, and it's true. The Giants were a field goal block away from possibly blowing another game in Seattle, field goal block touchdown. But if they did not win Sunday, if that did not happen, are we seeing a different Giant coach too? I mean, is that how chaotic it is in NFL football in New York?
It's chaotic. I'm not sure about that because obviously the expectations for the Giants are not what going into the season or not the expectations that the Jets had. I would just say this: if they had lost that game, unfortunately, I didn't see any of it except one or two plays because I was focused on Mets who were playing at the same time. Um, the seat that we always talk about that was getting warmer and warmer would have been getting hot. But that was a winnable game, and they did a good job from what I saw afterwards as I tried to piece everything together. They controlled the clock for 37 minutes. And we talked about last week how Seattle's defense is not very good. They got walked on by Detroit for 42 points. And the Giants took advantage of that by holding the ball for 37 minutes. They did a great job. The kid Tracy might be their best running back. He might be their best running back, Alex. We have to look at him moving forward. Singletary's a nice player, but this kid might be a better running back. And Daniel Jones, who I've always been a fan of, again, is he an elite quarterback? No. Is he terrible? No, he's not. He's going to be in this league for a long time. And he played a fine game Sunday. He played a fine game last week. And next week, they play another winnable game against the Bengals. Winnable because the Bengals can't stop anybody. And if the Giants can hold the ball another 35, 36 minutes to keep the ball away from Joe Burrow, they have a chance to win a game. If they don't win a ballot time possession, the Bengals will probably win a game. Not because the Bengal defense is going to stop the Giants. The Bengals are just going to score because they have a terrific offensive team still, but their defense is nowhere. So,
as you know,
again,
I've been critical at times of Daniel Jones, but I feel bad for him. I think the pass drops have really increased this year, and it's for no reason. These guys got to catch the football for him.
Well, you're right, and you just triggered something even in the Jet game. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers has chemistry with Lazard, but Lazard dropped 4 passes on Sunday. Braylon Allen dropped 1. And you're right. These guys, and they all have these gloves, which are like Velcro. They got to make these catches, whether it's Rodgers, Daniel Jones, whoever. They got to make those catches for Daniel Jones. I'm telling you, it's going to be very interesting to see how this Giants season plays out from the quarterback position, because as they get closer to the end of the season, what they're going to do. Obviously, they're ready to dump Daniel Jones if they were able to move up in the draft, and probably the guy they were going to look at was Drake May. But I just don't. I don't know what the total criticism is of Daniel Jones. I really don't understand.
Well, I think now that the Commanders have a very certified draft pick in Jaden Daniels, it adds a little pressure to veterans like even Hurts and Jones and Prescott to up their games. I think they're going to feel that pressure from Washington more than other years in recent memory, Lou.
Alex, if you had said to me how much you want to bet after 5 weeks the Washington Commanders would be 4-1, I would say I would take that bet. So they've surprised me. Dan Quinn, I was never a big fan of Dan Quinn, the coach, but he's done a fine job. They are a very interesting watch. They really are. And all 3 quarterbacks played well on Sunday. All 3 rookie starting quarterbacks played well on Sunday. I saw Bo Nix live the week before Sunday. He was terrible. They won, but he was terrible. I didn't see the game Sunday, except maybe a play or two, because, again, I was focused on Mets. But from what I hear, and I'll probably look at a replay, at least highlight package this week, it looked like Bo Nix has played a terrific game and upped his game. And he has a great offensive coach and a guy who's a great head coach in Sean Payton. And the Broncos already have a very solid defense. They'll be interesting to watch the next couple of weeks also.
Now, you just mentioned the Mets, so perfect segue, because this was supposed to be a big day at Citi Field. Not that it won't be, but the big news day was supposed to be the Mets are hosting their first game at Citi Field in the postseason since 2022 with a different kind of energy. Of course, the Saleh firing is kind of taken away from that a little bit. But nonetheless, tonight, Game 3, all LDS is tied at 1. But can the Mets break the ice and make it 2-1 tonight?
Oh, I think they can. Like I said, I think the Mets are as good as any team that's remaining in the playoffs. I like the Padres. I think they're really, really good. But the Mets can beat anybody. It's when 5:08 comes tonight. Obviously, everybody's focus in New York is going to be on this game. Saleh's firing by that time will be 6-7 hours old, and it'll be like old news. That's how fast the news topics last these days. I give the Mets a great chance tonight. I mean, Aaron Nola is a terrific pitcher, and I think that the Phillies have a tremendous starting rotation. And could I see the Mets winning the next 2 games? Yes. Can I see the Mets losing the next 2 games? Sure. And if the Mets do lose the next 2 games, will I be disappointed? I'll be disappointed, but I won't be upset. This team has shown so much character. Just coming back Sunday in the 9th inning, they found one of their young players is now going to be, he's going to be a mainstay for the next 5-10 years in Mark Vientos. I mean, I got it, and you know me.
What did I say last week? Call-up of the year, am I right?
Yeah, for the Mets, it absolutely was call-up of the year. No doubt about it. 100% right. And you scratch your head. He had a good training camp, a good spring training. He was disappointed he didn't come up with the team back at the end of March. Maybe if he did, maybe the Mets would have won a couple of more games. Same thing with David Peterson, who I assume will start tomorrow. Again, we've been waiting for David Peterson for a long time. This year, it finally clicked. He had a fine year. He missed the first 7 weeks of the season. If he was there from the beginning of the year, how many more wins would the Mets have? Just throwing it out there. I mean, and Francisco Alvarez, I think, is just getting ready to take off. I mean, I think you're going to see a consistent 25, 30 home run hitter. Alex, I'd move his position. I would move him to another position. What position? I don't know. I don't know if he could DH because they'll be looking for a new DH next year. J.D. Martinez is not going to be their DH, even though he's done a good job, and he's done a good job in the clubhouse. But Alvarez is too valuable to get foul tips on his shoulder to catch all those games. If you want to make him the backup catcher, maybe go out and get another catcher, his third string catcher. I don't know. I would move his position where that's something for the organization to figure out. But yeah, I mean, the last 2 years, the Mets have had a couple of good young people who have contributed. And again, they still have Brett Beatty, who broke his hand. We'll see how he does next year, or if they use him in trade bait.
Oh, Beatty, that was
tonight.
The Beatty was the downfall. No, tonight's going to be exciting. Always when you're home in the postseason. And again, I'm excited for Howie Rose, who is calling a home Mets game in the postseason his 50th year of radio. How cool is that for a kid from Queens? Am I right?
Well, he's not. He's a kid from Queens. He's a Met historian. He's a fantastic baseball play-by-play man. The home run that Pete Alonso hit the other night, that call, anybody, whether it's in all the broadcasters that are being trained in Fordham or at Syracuse or anywhere in a communications department throughout this country, they should get that call. That call was perfect. That call was as perfect as you can get. He described a home run. He described him running around the bases. He described the Mets waiting at the home plate. He described as he walked into the Mets dugout and other players were at the top step. It was a perfect call by Howie Rose, and I hope he has a couple more left in him the rest of the series, and I'm sure he does.
All right.
Perfect call, Alex.
Perfect call. Speaking of perfect calls, I want to just give a shout-out to Mr. Bob Wolf, whose call will live on forever, of the perfect game today in 1956, Don Larson's perfect game. I'm sure you know the call that Bob Wolf did, and to call him a friend was truly an honor and a privilege, and to carry on his legacy every October 8th means something to me.
Well, it should. I was 3.5 years old when on that day, so obviously I don't remember that game. But I remember, obviously, I've seen the clip 1,000 times, and I met Bob Wolf 2 or 3 times briefly. But he was a gentleman, even just meeting him then. He was a great play-by-play announcer. He called that game. He called the what many people say is the greatest game in NFL history, between the Giants and the Colts, the 1958 championship game. The famous Amici scores. That's him. That's Bob Wolf. He was the play-by-play man on the Knicks 1970 team for TV over the air on Channel 9, and he did a fantastic job. He was great. He was great, and he was, like you say, he was a gentleman all the way through.
All right. Also a gentleman. Now we'll go to the Yankees series, but also a gentleman way over the years has been Bob Costas, and the under fire he's been getting, the siege of attacks from even Yankee fans and some baseball fans for the way he's called the series has saddened me. But I will say it's been a little tough to listen to, only because he starts to get on these tangents, which I don't think I can follow. But I kind of feel bad for him too, because everybody's going after him. Have you been following the backlash to Bob Costas calling the series?
It actually started last year during the division series, and I think last year he did the NL division series, and it started last year. Bob Costas obviously is a baseball historian. He's probably the best studio sports host of all time. He's a very good play-by-play announcer. Yes, I think he's lost a little bit off his play-by-play fastball. I don't think the presence that a play-by-play announcer has is there with him like it used to be. But he's still a brilliant announcer. And I think sometimes why we've seen people criticize him the last few years, I think he's kind of lost his concentration. Instead of just concentrating on the game itself, what's going on the field, he's trying to make the description more flowery than it should be. I listened to a little bit of these games, and he sounds a little bit off to me. That being said,
what it also could be is people forget he was an interviewer after calling the Yankees World Series run in '98, and I think he was in '99 as well. But then he went to the interviewing world, and maybe doing interviews for 20 years threw him off his play-by-play. Is that possible?
It is possible, Alex, and he's a brilliant interviewer. I mean, whether he did his national radio show every Sunday night, Costas Coast to Coast, which was a must listen. I listened to probably just about every Sunday night. His power of recall is off the charts. But like he said, he's not doing 140 games a year on TV like a Gary Cohen, or a Michael Kay or a Dan Arcello. He's just not. And I think he's lost a little bit off his play-by-play fastball. But that being said, do I think he deserves the criticism that he's been getting the last 2 postseasons? No, I do not.
No, it's rough. And Ron Darling's always solid on SNY, but even I guess he's getting a little heat too for his role as the color commentator. I don't know. When you're on the bigger stage, it's a different kind of market you're dealing with, that's for sure. But let's go to the game at hand. I think the most interesting stats are the fact that Judge and Witt Jr., the MVP and MVP runner-up, have completely struggled, which you called, at least on the on the Judge side. I didn't expect Witt Jr. to also go cold.
Yeah, I figured Witt Jr., as great as he is, would be, and not that he's going to be under the radar screen, but would have been a little bit under the radar in the first 2 games. Yeah, I mean, he's 0 for 10. Judge has 1 hit, and it's a ground ball to third that he beat out, a slow roll to the third, which broke, I think, an 0 for 22. Now the Yankees are in 2 out of 3, Alex. And while the Yankees are still an overwhelming favorite and still have a much better team than the Royals, anything can happen in 2 out of 3. Anything. We saw it last week with Detroit and Houston. Detroit got a great game from Tariq Struble. Again, they had to win, just like Detroit got yesterday. And then the next day they went to a bullpen game. And Detroit was able to win it against Houston. There's pressure on the Yankees, to be sure. Maybe getting away from New York will be better for them. Sometimes teams play better on the road. Same thing for Philly. I think Philly might play better at Citi Field than they do at Citizens Bank Park, because just look at Sunday's game. The first 2 times up, Nick Castellanos made out. He was getting booed from the fans. And the last 3 times up, he hit the home run, he got the base hit, and then got the game-winning base hit, all in rally innings. So it's sometimes tough to play at home. So we'll see. But, obviously.
I also think the Yanks should have gone with Heel yesterday or Schmidt and not Rodon, because I just thought Heel was a stronger starter to go for in game 2.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I think about Rodon. As somebody said this morning, the Yankees have the highest paid starting pitcher in baseball. They have the highest paid number 2 pitcher in baseball. And Rodon, I mean, you talk about a hit and miss guy. I mean, you never know what you're going to get from this guy. Inning from inning, you don't know what you're going to get. I would not want my life on the line with him. At least if it goes to game 5, they have Cole, who, and you were there on Saturday night. Cole didn't have it on Saturday night. He didn't have command, which was surprising to me because he finished the season so well. So we'll see. But it's 2 out of 3, and if the Yankees start squeezing those bats tighter, come Saturday morning, come Friday night around 11 o'clock, it could be over. I don't think it will be, but it could be.
And as I said in my last show, they have the home field advantage. Let's see what they do with it, right? So they if they get bounced from the LDS, is that a fireable offense for Boone and Cashman, or what?
I think more for Boone than Cashman, I would say. But the Yankees love Boone. He fits their criteria, of following the analytics. But again, let's face it, Alex, we talked about it all year. It's last year. The one thing the New York Yankees, the one thing that they really aren't, they don't pay attention to detail, whether it's base running, whether it's a poor decision on a throw. And that's got to be on, somebody's got to pay for that. And it's Boone in all likelihood. But maybe they don't care about that. Maybe they still would rather have Boone because he fits their profile working with the analytic team. I don't know. But all I know is that it's really hard to believe that, and again, this is just the first year for Carlos Mendoza. He was in the Yankee organization for 15 years, and he's done a very good job. Now, I do question him how he handled a Sunday with Diaz coming in and being afraid to pitch to, and Mendoza didn't want to pitch to Bryce Harper. I don't get that. I mean, he struck out in the first inning. He made out the next time up. He hit the home run. And if you were going to put him on the 8th inning when the Mets were up 4-3, why would you have Diaz throw 4 pitches? That can get a pitcher out of sync. Just walk him if you want to do that. I wouldn't have. I would have tried to get him out. And if by some chance he hits one out, it's 4-4. But by putting him on, which basically was an intentional walk, then Castellanos got a hit, and then Stott hit the triple down the left field line. And but I'm just surprised that the Yankees, with Carlos Mendoza in their organization the last 15 years, the last 4 years as their bench coach, haven't taken a look at him, because I'm very impressed by Carlos Mendoza.
Took an 0-5 team all the way to the NLDS so far, so there's that. There's something to say about that. Hey, interesting storyline today, speaking of baseball, because we always talk about memories and nostalgia. Louis Tiant's unfortunately passing away today, but any memories while I have you today on Terminello's take of Louis Tiant?
Well, it's funny. It's funny you asked me about the now late, great Louis Tiant. My first major league game I ever went to, it was in the original Yankee Stadium, not the renovated one, the one that was built in 1923. It was June of 1964. It was a Yankee doubleheader against the then Cleveland Indians. The Yankees won the first game 6-2. In the second game, somebody was making his first major league start for the Cleveland Indians. It was a right-hander by the name of Luis Tiant. He beat the Yankees 3-0. The Yankees won the pennant that year. The Indians were a middle-of-the-road team. He pitched a complete game, 3-0 shutout at Yankee Stadium. It was also Bat Day at Yankee Stadium. So over 71,000 people. Alex, I remember it like it was yesterday. So the fact that you asked me that question on memories of Louis Tiant, that's obviously my lasting memory, my first memory of him. He was a great clutch pitcher. He gave the Reds fits in that World Series in '75. He's a great Red Sox. He's a great Indian. And he pitched a little bit for the Yankees at the end. Great. He's one of those borderline Hall of Famers, the Hall of Very Good, but an outstanding pitcher. And really hard to hit.
I have to go back and watch some of his tape because I heard he was just an overall incredible player. Hall of Famer, right?
He's a borderline Hall of Famer. He's not there yet. And I think it's going to be hard for him to get in. But again, Alex, stick with everybody in Hall of Fame these days. So maybe one of these days we'll do a show on the Hall of Fame, the Baseball Hall of Fame. So,
all right. Well, one last thing. I know NHL starts this week. Is the rejection of an 8-year deal from Shesterkin a big deal yet? I mean, he has 1 year left. Everybody's making a big deal about this. What do you think?
It's negotiation. It's not a big deal. The Rangers are going to sign him. He's the best player on the team. They'll work it out. There's no way that the Rangers are going to blow this. No way. He's too good.
And we might have a surprise guest from the Rangers '94 era. We have to keep people posted about that, right, Louis?
Man, that would be exciting. I would love. Hopefully that comes through. That would be great if we get the person from the 1994 Ranger team. And again,
I'd have been the head coach of the team. Actually, we'll have to find out.
Alex.
Anyway, Louis, thanks for joining me today. Any last thoughts this week on Terminello's Take?
No, I think obviously next Monday night will be interesting when Buffalo comes to MetLife Stadium. The rest of the week to see if when we talk next week, if the Mets and Yankees will still be playing baseball. They both have a coin toss chance of making it. The Yankees are like more to advance than the Mets do. But it's going to be an interesting week of sports. Like you said, the hockey season starts this week, and exciting times. October's always exciting.
Well, there you go, Lou. Thanks for joining this week on your hit Terminello's Take. This is why we do this show 15 years in the running, because there's always news breaking in the sports world.
Absolutely, Alex. It's what keeps us going.
100%. Thanks for joining, Lou.
Thank you, Alex.